All right, it is time for some pickups, or as we say in the book world, a book haul. Hey everyone, it is Shannon, and I'm excited to share the books that I picked up recently, and kind of a funny story. The day that I recorded and put up my, what was it, my April TBR video, that was the same day that I just happened to be in the store, and oh look, there are books, and oh look, I am taking books and buying books, and I'm like, what am I doing? I just decided on all the books that I'm going to read in April, and not all the books, but you know, like a set of books to read in April, and I just go buy more. Anyway, it's fine. It's all fine. I got these secondhand, and so I picked up 5 things because they have the buy four get one free, and so it's the chances of me buying something not in multiple of 5 is very low. Let's get this started. I started in the sort of, they have a sort of like literary section, like with mostly classics, Canadian Shakespeare literature, as they say. And it's kind of funny because now they've separated out that and then sort of more general fiction, contemporary fiction. And I only noticed that recently because they did a bit, it used to be all together, and now they've sort of separated them out. So anyway, in the literature section, I found tales from the 1001 Nights, this Penguin Classics edition. I was really happy to find this because I'm very curious about the 1001 Nights, but I was very at a loss of where to start with this. I looked it up and I looked up different versions, and I was like, how can you figure out what is a good edition, because the source is anonymous? So like sometimes that's great because it's usually in the public domain, but then, you know, who entered that in the public domain? I love public domain books, but you know, mileage may vary in terms of your results and how close it is to like anything. So anyway, I figure a Penguin Classics edition is a good way to go on this, and this one is translated and has an introduction by N.J. Dawood, and it is originating from India, Persia, and Arabia. The tales from 1001 Nights represent a lively expression of the lay and secular imagination in revolt against religious austerity and zeal in Oriental culture. So jinns, sorcerers, broadiness, realism, like that all sounds fun. I'm really, really curious about this. And it has like, I think there's sort of like 12 to 15 tales, but then some of them have multiple parts to them, so all the parts end up being sort of more like 35. So I've been looking to read more like tales, fables, myths, mythology, fairy tales, and shorter works this year, and I keep on saying that, but I haven't really started to do that. So it's April, so better get on that. So maybe I'll start with this. And so really, really happy that I found this one. Then I headed over to, there's a sci-fi fantasy horror section, which of course I always check. And so, unless I really am trying to restrain myself from buying anything, and then I don't go there. But this time I went there and I picked up Invasion of the Body Snatchers by Jack Finney. I actually had no idea this was a book. I think I've seen all the film versions. There was like, was there one in the 50s, and then there was one in the 70s, and then there was one in the 2000s, just called The Invasion, and so I had no clue. And man, check out that cover. That cover does not make it feel like it's the 60th anniversary edition, but perhaps it is a timeless tale of alien invasion. So I'm really curious. I'm really curious to check this one out, and it's pretty short, which is nice. And so yeah, it's kind of weird. I've noticed I've been reading a lot of books that I've already seen the movie, and then I read them after. I read The Running Man, and then To Enter a Dream of Electric Sheep, which is based on Blade Runner, and I know I have at least one other one on my radar, and I'm like, this is really the opposite of what I normally do, but I'm still curious to read it. Very curious. Yay. Next up, The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. This one I didn't know much about at all. It had only popped up on my radar in the days before I went out and bought this because I was looking up books to read for the Spring into Horror readathon that's later in April. And so to check out some horror titles, and this one was on a fair amount of lists, and I had never heard it, and I think it is a ghost story. So that's going to be creepy. And even though it's a, sort of normal size book, this is some kind of crazy, this is the critical edition, the Norton critical edition, and there is like twice as many pages for critical analysis. Like literally, that's the book. It's like 85 pages, and then there's like 160 pages of like people referring to stuff about the book. So this is like, lots of context and analysis and criticism and lots of stuff like that. So I'm going to start with the story. I don't always read a lot of supplementary stuff, especially not right away. I like to sort of sit with the story itself and, see what I think about it. And then, to be honest, usually after a while, I don't think to go back and read it. So let me know, do you read supplemental works in terms of, and responses to other works, like outside academia or within academia, because I don't read things academically. I just read them and I'm like, that was interesting, usually. But I want to start thinking a little, not necessarily more critically, but more concisely about what I read and what I like and what I don't like. So I thought it might be fun to work that into the mix as well, to read about what people think about the book, what the general take of the book is, that kind of stuff. So maybe explore on that. And this one I picked up, I put down, I went somewhere else in the store, and I was like, no, I really do want it, and I came back and I got it, and that was the Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wecker. This one was written only a few years ago, and I think it was one of the Sword and Laser picks last year, and definitely sort of made the rounds, and a fair amount of people talked about it. I did get it out of the library at some point, and did think the story was compelling. And Golem, like, seriously, I watch a lot of supernatural and paranormal TV shows, and I always get excited if there's a Golem, because it's like the least, like, referred to like creature or supernatural entity. It is like very, very rare, so I get very excited when there's a Golem, and I always think it's going to be a Golem, and it usually isn't. But anyway, and then a Jinni, which I don't know if it's a genie or a djinn, so I will have to read it to find out. It is historical fiction, which isn't necessarily something I go to all that often, and this is a hefty book, but I don't know if that's just, I don't know. Sometimes the bigger books, they actually don't take that long. It feels pretty nicely spaced. And I thought it was YA, but now I'm not sure. Does it say where the ISBN is? Let's take a look. Quick look. No, it just says the copyright. So weird. Do you think it would be sort of standardized? Some books have where to file it. Some don't. This one doesn't. So anyway, Golem and the Jinni, I'm really excited about this one. And then the last one, and this is another bit of irony. The last one I picked up was The Stand by Stephen King. This is a huge book, and I sat there looking at it, especially because recently I did the I Dare You tag, and I said for my answer of what book do you say you'll read but you probably won't, and I came up with two answers, one of which was The Stand, because I've read It, which is another extremely long Stephen King book, so I thought that might be enough for extremely long Stephen King books. But I saw this there, and I'm like, so many people love it, and it's really, really long, and if I'm gonna read it, I would rather have it than have to like take it out of the library like again and again and again and again and again and again and again. So, but it is huge. Like this edition is over 1,400 pages. That's like, it's pretty narrow, but that's also because, proportionally to the width. So anyway, I'm not planning on picking this up anytime super soon, maybe in the summer, I don't know. So, but it's one of those ones that seems extremely immersive, and I am curious about it, so I will give it a shot at some point. So we'll see. And then this is a much loved version. I can see there's a little tear on the back, which is like right where you'd hold your hand when you open it. So someone definitely read this, and I actually went through and did the gentle breaking of the spine, which I learned how to do when I read War and Peace, because you need to know how to do that if you're going to be reading a book that big. Anyhow, those are my pickups. Let me know if you've read any of them. Let me know if you think I should pop into, like, dive into any of those first. I think there's at least one or two that'll make it onto my spring into horror list, which I admit was part of the excitement of going shopping, but I didn't mean to. I really didn't mean to. I just went by the store and it was raining, and I went in and oh, the resistance was down. My resistances are down. Anyway, I don't have any regrets. It's not like it was a huge amount of money or anything like that. It's just kind of funny. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Oops, upside down.